When I first moved into the apartment, it seemed perfect, spacious, affordable, with a view of the city skyline that lit up beautifully at night. The landlord casually mentioned that the previous tenant left in a hurry, and now I know why. The shadows here have a mind of their own. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, my surroundings began to warp in unsettling ways. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, curling and twisting like they were whispering secrets to one another. Act 1. It started small. I'd notice my keys not where I left them or the faintest whisper of movement in the corner of my eye. I chalked it up to fatigue or the stress of moving. But then, the shadows grew bolder. I'd wake up at night to find them pulling in corners of my room, darker and denser than they should be, as if they were watching me. I was drawn to these shadows, compelled to understand them, even as dread settled in my gut like a stone. Act 2. My curiosity got the better of me, and I began to experiment. I left a flashlight on overnight, but the shadows only swirled around the light, thickening as though feeding on its glow. Desperate for answers, I started digging into the building's history. I discovered that the previous tenant wasn't the first to flee. Others had reported strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, whispers in the night, and a pervasive sense of being watched. The deeper I delved, the more I realized I was in over my head. Act 3. One night, the shadows seemed to reach a crescendo. They gathered, coalescing into a form that was almost human, standing at the foot of my bed. I was frozen, unable to move or scream. The figure leaned closer, and I heard a voice like rustling leaves. "Leave," it hissed, with an urgency that sent chills down my spine. Heart pounding, I grabbed my essentials and fled into the night. As I stood outside, watching the windows of my apartment darken, I finally understood why everyone before me had run. The shadows weren't just alive, they were trying to reclaim their territory, and I was the intruder.